it's Nadia from LiaDia Designs, and I'm back with another tutorial. Today we are making a little memory frame. Oh, and if you see my hand, I was at a wedding on the weekend, and the henna is actually starting to wear off. So that's all that is. It was really pretty, but it's wearing off. So anyway, so as you saw in the intro, beginning of the video, I poured some resin with a very thin layer. Actually, you can see super thin layer with some glitter in it, just some iridescent glitter, just to kind of make a base on the bottom. And I also poured this little frame mold. Now this is a mold I actually made based from this frame here. So this frame I've got, I don't know, from some sort of dollar store or something, probably about 15 years ago, and I recently found it. And I have this one too, same thing. Actually, this is one of the ones I poured, but it was, let's see if I can find this was the original. So these are the two original frames I had, and I just had picked them up from like a dollar store or something. And I was working on a project for a customer and they needed a frame and I didn't have one. I couldn't find what I wanted. And so I decided to make a mold. So that's what I did here. So this mold here actually has both of these designs in them. If you guys want to see how I made the mold, I can do that in another video. Just let me know in the comments. Okay, so anyway, so that was the base, but I needed this this frame to be silver, so I ended up pouring this one here. So as you saw in the video, I dry brushed mica onto the mold first, which is what you kind of still see here, and then I poured silver resin in it as well. So this is the frame. Pretty cute. I really like how these turn out actually. And you could definitely antique this if you wanted. You can go in and just kind of dry brush in with some acrylic paint or something, like a darker color, like a black or a dark brown or something, to kind of really antique it. I'm not going to do that on this one, but you definitely could. There's enough detail in here that you could definitely do that. So that is that. So we're going to be putting this frame inside this mold, and then we're going to be creating a fully encased resin piece with it. So that's the frame we're working with. What I'm making today is actually a memorial little frame piece for my puppy Coco. So those of you who have been following me on Instagram for a while know that in 2020 our puppy Coco, he was 16 years old, he passed away. So he super sweet, as you can see in this picture, super sweet face. So anyway, I have been needing to, I've made some other things for him, but today is actually the day I'm recording this is actually the anniversary of his death. So I wanted to make this frame because I've been putting it off for a long time. So what I did is I actually just printed this on my home printer and on just like glossy paper. And then what I did is I spray sealed it with this here, the DuraClear Clear Coat Acrylic Lacquer. And for extra safety, just because if it's just a photo I get printed from like a photo lab, like a professional place, I usually don't worry too much about sealing it. But because it's just being printed on my home printer, I wanted to test this out as well, just to make sure that this will work. I did try it on another piece, not this one, but another piece recently. And I found that if I didn't really seal it really well, that the resin did start to seep in from the edges and stuff like that. So what I did is I clear coat it with that, the spray lacquer twice. And then what I've also done is I've taken my DuraClear Gloss Varnish and I actually painted it. I don't know if you can see the brush strokes there, but I actually painted it as well, front, on the edges, and on the back. So this way, hopefully it's fully sealed in. We're not gonna have any issues with resin leaking into the edges. It's not that the edges would show that much anyway, because a lot of it's being covered by the frame, but just to be safe. So that is what I want the frame to look like, that. And we're also gonna put in some flowers around the edges. And I actually even have a little lock of his hair here as well that I want to put in this frame. So, all right, so let me just get organized and we'll get started. Okay, so All right, so the first thing we're gonna do is I have my tweezers, and I'm gonna put the frame and the photo aside for now. And we're just gonna go ahead and place in all of our dried flowers. So these are flowers that I get from Amazon. So they just come in packages like this. I'm sure you guys are familiar by now because I've used them quite a bit. So I have a selection here of the ones I want to use. So I have some ferns, and I'm going mostly with a kind of a white and yellow theme. And we actually, after Coco passed away, we actually made a little memorial in our backyard. So we planted a little garden and we put a nice new tree there, and his ashes are under there. So the tree that we have, it's green most of the year or most of the summer, and then it has white flowers that kind of bloom on it in the fall, like anytime now it starts to bloom. So I wanted to kind of keep with that. So, and the actually I forgot to mention, so you can't really see it, and you're not going to see it once I get all the flowers on anyway. I did tint this slightly blue as well, just to kind of give it a little bit of separation from the white flowers. Again, it's not going to show that much here, but we'll see. So all I'm going to do here, and we'll go into a time lapse, but all we're going to do here is I'm going to grab one of these guys, and we're going to put in some of the gloss varnish. Make it a mess, and just going to basically paint the edge here. So everywhere that the flowers are obviously going to the frame's going to overlap the flowers, so we don't have to be super neat on the inside of it because it's all going to be covered, but we do want to just put the gloss varnish all the way around. And again, I mean, those of you who want to do this while at the same time you're pouring resin, like you could do the base, and then at this point now, if you wanted to do this just, you know, pouring resin and then placing all your flowers in, you can definitely go ahead and do that. There's no issue. I prefer this way because I feel like I have more time and I have more control, because my resin starts to cure within like 20 minutes. So I don't usually have a ton of time in case I want to move things or fiddle with them or adjust things. If you have a slower curing resin, like one that takes maybe 24 hours to cure, then you would definitely have a lot more working time to do this part here. But for me, I like knowing that I've placed in all my flowers and then nothing's going to move, right? Like with resin, sometimes flowers start to float and different things start happening. So this is just my process, which makes me feel comfortable. You guys can definitely do whatever you feel you're more comfortable with. So just grabbing a piece of tissue here because I made this mess. All right, let's get rid of that. Oh, still messy. Okay, so now we just go ahead and we start placing these in, and there's always a good side and a wrong side, so I'm gonna just place that in and just use the tweezers, and because we put a layer of the gloss varnish, they basically just stick. All right, and then we'll do the same thing with this one, and now, you know, we'll put down a few other ones too. All the ferns and leaves we'll put down first because I have some other ones here like this. And then the flowers go on top, and we will just keep adding, you know, brushing on more gloss varnish as we need, you know, wherever we need to put things. So I'm going to go into a time lapse so you guys can quickly watch that, and then we'll be back on the other side. Okay, so now we have pretty much all of our flowers in place, and you saw at the end I just added that little lock of hair here, and I put a little bit of the gloss varnish on it just to kind of set it, because again the hair might float once we pour resin, so I'm trying to prevent anything from floating. And while I say that, we have this flower that wants to stick up, if they float a little bit, this mold is deep enough, and that's why I put a super thin layer of resin on the bottom. So this way, with the amount of resin we're pouring on top of all this, you know, as long as they pretty much stay in place, if any of the little petals want to float, it's really not going to cause that big of an issue. But all right, so there we go. Just put that flower there just to kind of, you know, just kind of decorate the hair a little bit. So there we go. And well, you didn't see, oh, no, it's stuck. I did stick, or tried to, the picture to the back of the frame with gloss varnish as well. I might have to add a bit more, but all I'm going to do now is, so I stuck it on. I'm going to fix it because it looks like it's lifting. So I'm going to put some more gloss varnish, let that dry a little bit. And that's just going to kind of seal this to the frame, and it'll help eliminate, you know, any little bubbles that we'll want to try to come up through here. And once I'm done that, I'm going to put a bunch of gloss varnish on this and then stick it down. Let's see if I can, I'm afraid to put it because it's going to lift up the flowers, but just kind of put it here. Maybe I do this. You guys can see it better. So if I do this, that's pretty much what we're looking for there. So yeah, so once the gloss varnish all dries, I'll leave it probably for a few hours to let everything dry really nice, and then I'll go in and add a top coat of resin. And for this, I will be doing a dome coat on it, or a flood coat on it as well. So I'll try to capture everything in the time lapse, and then we'll be back at the end to see how it all turned out. Okay, so we are done, and I've done, as you saw in the time lapse, I did the top coat while it was in the mold, and then I went ahead and put the liquid latex on the bottom, and then did a flood coat kind of over the entire thing after that. So it gave us a really nice finish. As you can see, it's kind of domed along the edges, and it gives a good thickness to the piece as well. So there was a spot, actually right where you see this little bubble, there's a spot here. Let me see if I can get the light. And you can see it's not completely flat right there. That's because I was messing with it while it was curing. There was that bubble that you see, and actually it got trapped under the resin, and I was trying to see if I could maybe pop it, and then it just did all kinds of crazy things in terms of like lifting the thickened resin, and then it didn't want to flatten back down, and it was a whole thing. So it's not too noticeable. If it really bothers me, then I will do one more top coat over the whole thing. But for now, it's fine. I do want to show you how to take off the liquid latex. And as I've shown it in a few videos before, it comes off super easy. Just gotta peel it. Oops, piece there. So yeah, so you just put it on. It takes about, depending how thick you layer it, and I do recommend putting it on pretty thick, so this way it's easier. The thinner the liquid latex is, it's going to be a little bit more difficult to get it off clean, you know, just kind of peel it off easily. So there we go, got that all off, and the back is perfect. And there we go. So here is our final piece. And you can see all the flowers. Now I did want to mention, so you can see the hair, his hair here, the little lock of hair I added. Now when Coco was alive and we used to give him baths, he was a Maltese mix. So his hair was more like, I guess, more similar to human hair. And when we would give him a bath, his hair was like literally translucent. Like it was, he would look like he didn't have any hair at all. And you can see how fluffy he was. But once he got wet, the hair just almost disappeared on him. So I'm not shocked that that happened here as well, because you know, that's how it was in real life, and that's how his hair is. So it's there. We know it's there. This is a sentimental piece for us. So it doesn't really bother me like that. Obviously a darker haired, you know, lock of hair would show more, but like I said, it's there. We know it's there. And I really like how this piece turned out. And I did do one, if you're on my Instagram, you saw I did one for a little girl. Actually, her mom asked me to make her one of a little girl and her dad, because her dad had passed away. And it was such, it's, you know, obviously a heartbreaking piece to make, but she said that she and her daughter absolutely treasure it, and that makes me so happy. And I'm really glad that I was able to make that for them. And it inspired me to make this piece and show you how I made it, you know, making this piece for our Coco. But, you know, for anybody, I know that making sentimental pieces is something with resin is something that's, you know, quite popular right now, because it just allows us so much flexibility to create pretty much anything. And like I said, if we start incorporating frames and flowers and different things, it really allows us to create something special. So in any case, guys, I hope that you enjoyed this. I'm going to show you the side. I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial. I hope you found that the process was easy and, you know, seems doable. That's something that you would be able to do. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments. Like I said, and I know there might be other ways to do this, and this is just my process and how I know for sure I feel comfortable that the outcome is going to turn out exactly the way that I expect. So, all right. And like I said, thank you guys for watching to the end of the video and for all of your love and support. I am back from my very busy month of traveling, and I have some really fun projects I'm really excited to show you guys very, very soon. So I'm hoping that I'll get back to work this week. And like I said, if you're on Instagram, hopefully you'll see a lot more. I've been kind of sparse on there for the past month or so because, again, I wasn't really here, but I hope to be producing a lot more and putting a lot more cool ideas on there. So if you aren't already subscribed, please do so. And if you'd like to leave a comment, please do that as well. And if you want to find any of my socials, there's a link. It's called Beacons in my in the description below this video, as well as any of the products that I'm using here. I will list them and link the ones that I have links for, and the discounts codes and all the good things. So thank you guys, and take care. I'll see you guys next time. Thanks. Bye.